Okay, help me out here, guys. Is it just me, or does it feel like bringing up the topic of safe sex, not just using condoms, but I mean being aware of the sexual health history of your partner seems to be taboo with people, with guys? I don't know. I'm meeting the wrong guys, but it feels awkward for me to bring it up because the reactions on the guys' faces seem to say, wow, I've never been asked that before. I'm not talking about just condoms. I'm talking about just knowing the history of, like, I don't want to say whether your partner is sexually healthy or not, because it's not black or white. I'm not even judging people that may have some sexual, like STI, or bad experience or anything like that. I'm just saying we need to know. Like, I appreciate knowing. But the thing is, when I ask or when I bring it up, maybe I do it with trepidation. Maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe I do it with trepidation, but the partners that I've been in those situations with seem to act as if this is new to them. And that really concerns me because the fact that the guys don't bring it up and we have to, and I'm not just saying females, I'm saying we as in people like me who are concerned about it, because some of my female friends tell me that they don't bring it up. Like, they wouldn't ask someone for their sexual health history, or like, I don't feel comfortable just saying, like, are you clean or not? I've had guys, like, when I bring it up, they'll say, oh, but you're clean, right? And to me, clean is vague. Like, I'm not judging people for, if some of you out there do have an STI or have had any situations in the past where you've, because of sexual connection, that something has happened in your body that was not pleasing or had to be taken care of. I'm not judging. I'm just saying that I think it's important for us to be aware of it. My first relationship, I felt like it was very loving and from both sides, but he had experience with others sexually and I didn't. And I wrongly assumed that because he had had experience sexually and I hadn't, that he would take initiative to make sure that he had gotten tested for whatever needed to be tested. And he hadn't. And he was scared to do it because he hadn't. And that put me in an awkward situation because instead of his initial reaction being grateful that I brought it up, he thought that I was being critical of him because I had not been with a partner and he had. And so I was insinuating that something could be wrong with him. And that was not the case. I was just like, hey, I want to be safe. I don't know how to do this whole thing. And I haven't had this kind of experience. So I want to know that you have gotten tested and that I I thought I could learn from him too, like on how to do that, how to take care of that for myself as well. And I think that set a stage for me to be scared to ask other guys in my life. So I either avoided sex, or like I avoided anything that could, yeah, like I might make out or be close to someone and cuddle with them, but I, at a certain point, I would say that it's not comfortable for me to be with someone that I am not in a relationship with, but it was more to that than that. It was also that I was like, I don't feel comfortable asking about this person's sexual history because I was scared I was going to get the same reaction. Then I decided to be more of a grown-up because I was actually taking courses on possibly becoming a sexual health practitioner, and it was so inspiring for me. It was like stuff that I hadn't delved into before, and just even though I had sexual health classes like as a child or like a, a youth, I don't remember being able to ask like questions that I really want to ask. And I don't feel like we got good details about how to make it healthy. I think it was more like this stay away from sex kind of feeling. And that threw me off altogether because I'm sure, like, through family or culture or society, I was also getting those messages that it's dangerous and it's not classy and so I just was confused all around. But over time, the more I learned, the more I realized, like, I didn't even know that, like, when I was younger, I didn't know that you could get STIs from, I mean, when I was younger, it was called STDs, but now apparently it's STIs, sexually transmitted diseases, to sexually transmitted, what is it? STIs, I can't think of the word. Anyway, my point is that I didn't even know that, like, I think we learned as far as what I was taking in was that you can get STIs from intercourse. So you should use a condom. And, there was a lot of emphasis on a condom, but I don't remember learning that, like, you could get STIs from skin to skin touch. Like, there are some that you can get from skin to skin touch. There are some that you can get from, even if you're wearing a condom, you could get an STI. And there's a lot of them that you can get from oral sex. And so I found it amazing where over the years, especially when I really got to ask those questions and really delve into it and understand that. I mean, I don't I don't have all the answers, but I know more than I did before. But I still would say to partners, I don't feel comfortable. Yeah, like they would, I don't feel comfortable being this way unless I know your sexual health history, or if we get tested together, or we can exchange tests and see each other's tests so that I know what's going on. And they would say things to me like, "Oh, well, we could use a condom," or they'd say, "Oh, I have a condom," and they would still think that oral sex was safe. But I'm like, if you have an STI, there are some that the best way to pass it on to someone is through oral sex. So I was like, the fact that these people don't know this made me more worried being with them, because I was like, that means that they might have tried to be safe and put on a condom and, either had intercourse or decided, okay, that person is not comfortable with intercourse, or oral sex would also be safe. So how do I know how many people they were having oral sex with in this time period that they had sexual experiences? So what I like to get back to is, like, why do I feel like I'm the only one that's asking the question, like, can we share testing results? I know it's not the sexiest thing to say in the middle of being passionate and stuff. And I try to get myself to organize it so that I can bring it up before that happens, because trust me, like, I understand it's not easy to bring it up during, and that probably is really bad timing. But what I feel is that if we could normalize it, I mean, I'm saying this from a selfish point of view, if we could normalize the asking of sharing test results, I wouldn't look so abnormal. Like, I promise you, like, some of these guys look at me like I'm crazy that I asked this. But I don't want to stop doing it. I don't want to succumb to, like, oh, okay, nobody's asking, so I shouldn't ask. Because that doesn't make me feel good. I go into panic attacks if my body reacts badly after any kind of sexual experience then, because then I worry what might have happened, or like for a couple of weeks or whatever, I'm like, yeah, I become paranoid about it. And I know that's not a good way to be, and that also maybe makes me reflect to maybe it wasn't the right person, because if it was the right person, they would take care of that and handle it with me together. We would, get tested, or we would talk about it beforehand, or they would understand. So what I've loved is that while I've been asking this to people that I've been with, or that I end up not being with because of their response, which is interesting in itself, some of the responses have surprised me in very opposite ways. I remember in particular, there was a guy from out of town. He was living in Vancouver for a while. We connected, we had really good chemistry. And he was not born and brought up in Vancouver, and he was living here for a short while. And so he hadn't even set up his whole healthcare, system, like who his doctor would be and all of that stuff here. Somehow, the universe, because I was learning about sexual health during that time, I found a clinic, or I heard of a clinic that was open to people that don't have like BC Health here, but they could go to, and especially if they wanted to get STI testing. I told him about it, and I shared that I was obviously very attracted to him. I felt like we were connecting really well, and I could see that if we kept going the way that we were, there would maybe be a potential for us to be physically together. But I said, I can't do that unless I know that you've gotten tested, and I'd be willing to go get tested with you. I get tested very often, even when I'm not having sex. I just get tested very regularly, so that if the situation comes up that I meet someone, I can say, look, I just got tested like yesterday or last week or a month ago, and I'm still willing to go after that, so that the person can see that I'm ready to show them where I'm at right now, what my sexual health is at right now, but I want them to show me theirs as well, and for us to share it. And this guy really impressed me. He actually agreed, and he said, I'm so glad that you said this. I mean, he said it in Spanish because his mother tongue was Spanish, but he was really grateful that I brought it up. And I think his reaction was like, I don't get a lot of women who place importance on this, and so I really appreciate you doing it. And we went to the clinic together, and he got tested and I got tested, and I felt so much better. And it wasn't just because we got tested and everything was fine, or like we we were aware of each other's health at that time, so we had something to work with. It was because of his reaction. It was the way he reacted, the way he was very complimentary to me about taking the initiative to do that, and that he was proactive and got it done. He didn't make an excuse, oh, I'm not from here, I don't have a doctor. Like, and the irony is that I've been in situations with guys who are Canadian born in Vancouver, have their whole health thing set up, and they reacted not that way. They found it insulting. They kind of made excuses about why they couldn't do it, or they just said, I'm clean. Like, putting it on me as if I was being skeptical of them. Like saying, oh, you don't trust me. Like, how can I be with you if you don't trust me? And then at that point, I didn't trust them. I didn't like their reaction, especially compared to this other guy. So it never happened. It's really good information. But yeah, lately I feel like sometimes I go back to that girl, like the girl in me that was scared to ask. And I'm like, it's 2025. How is it that at this age, I can still have moments where I feel a little scared to ask? As if, I don't know, do I think that the person is going to not be happy and then leave? I should be okay with that, right? Because then they're not the right person. But another part of it is really because I feel like it seems like it's very uncommon. Can we make it common? And I'm not just talking to the girls out there. If the women out there can do it, oh my God, thank you, because then I will not be the only one. But men, I would love it if a guy mentioned it to begin with. And I know it's scary, especially if you do have some sort of STI, but I appreciate just knowing. Like, I've talked to people that are in relationships and found someone after having an STI. And the reason it worked was because they both were honest about the situations and they made it work. But if the people were not sharing their truth, or were dodging around it, or made the other person feel like it was ridiculous that they're asking, I don't know, then what is this world coming to? Like, I don't know. Let me know how you feel about this. Do you ask someone about their sexual health history before having sex with them? I've been in situations where I didn't ask beforehand, and then as time went, I realized like I should ask, and we started talking about it later, and I realized that I was scared to ask beforehand. But then I've been in situations where I know that I need to ask beforehand, and it's given me a lot of information, the way the person reacted. So how do you feel about this? If you're a guy out there, do you ever ask for a sexual health history? How do you handle that topic? If you're a woman out there, do you ever ask? Have you ever been in situations where guys find it offensive that you ask? Guys, if you ask, do the women ever find it offensive? Or have any of you been out there like me and you've asked someone and they've been really appreciative of you bringing it up because they feel like that's not very common? Let's make it common. Let's make it common to ask, not to scare the people that do have some sort of STI or are dealing with some sexual health issue, but just to be aware so that we can be safe and feel comfortable and know what the next step is. If you don't know, then you're doing it blindly, and it can be scary and have really, really, daunting repercussions. So, yeah, let me know what you think.